Let me ask you a quick question, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Why do you actually want a girlfriend? No fluff, no romanticized answers, just be real with yourself. You are struggling right now, aren't you? Okay, let me ask you another question. Have you ever just laid in bed at night and built an entire life in your head one where someone is actually there next to you? Not in a dramatic way, just you're living and there's a person there who chose you, someone who actually wants to be around you. You're doing something completely ordinary together, sitting somewhere, talking about nothing in particular, and there's this quiet comfort in it that you can almost feel through the imagination. And for a few minutes lying there in the dark, that imagined life feels so real and so close that when you come back to your actual room, the silence hits differently. The ceiling looks the same. The room is the same. But something about returning to it feels heavier than it did before you closed your eyes. That's the feeling I've been sitting with for a while now. And I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about, even if you've never said it out loud to anyone. We tend to look at that late night imagination as pure romance, but if we are going to fix the struggle, we have to talk about what is actually happening in those quiet moments. I want to be honest with you about something because I think a lot of guys my age feel this and nobody actually talks about it plainly. I want a girlfriend, but it is not just because I like someone specifically. Somewhere underneath that want, there's a feeling I'm trying to get rid of. A kind of loneliness that sits in the background of everything quiet on most days, loud on others. It doesn't announce itself. It just shows up in the small gaps, right when you're lying in bed and the day is done and there's nothing left to distract you from the ache. For a long time, I genuinely believed that if the right girl chose me, that feeling would go away, that the silence would finally have something to fill it. The weight of that silence gets so much heavier when you step out of your room and look at everyone else. You're sitting with your friends, everything is normal, and then the conversation shifts to relationships. They all have something to say, talking about their girlfriends and plans. The conversation has this easy energy because everyone has something to contribute, and you're just sitting there with nothing to add. You laugh and nod enough that nobody notices, but inside, you're aware of this gap. It's not jealousy, exactly. It's more like you're watching everyone speak a language you haven't learned yet. And the longer it goes on, the more that silence inside you starts to feel like it means something, like it's pointing at something wrong with you that everyone else seems to have quietly figured out already. Because you feel that gap so deeply, the wanting gets louder, and because it needs somewhere to go, it starts to attach itself to someone specific. You look at this person and you think, if she liked me back, if she actually wanted me, something would shift. I'd feel different walking into a room. I'd carry myself differently. My friends would see me differently. I'd feel like someone worth wanting. And I think that's what I'm really after when I get honest about it. Not just the relationship itself, but the feeling of being chosen, of being wanted by someone who didn't have to want me. Someone who looked at everything I am and decided on their own that I was worth staying around for. That thought is incredibly powerful when you're lying in the dark and the loneliness is sitting on your chest. But here's the part that took me a while to actually admit to myself, and I'm still sitting with it now. When I started pulling the feeling apart, really examining what I was actually chasing, it wasn't as straightforward as I'd been telling myself. I had been framing it as this genuine romantic longing, this mature desire for connection, but when I got honest, underneath that were things I didn't particularly want to look at. In my perspective, part of what I want is to feel a certain way in front of my friends. Like, it says something about your worth and confidence in a way you can't just say about yourself. It's external validation wearing the costume of love. And if I'm being completely honest, the other part of it is just lust dressed up, because it's easier to say you want love than to admit what you actually want sometimes. When I laid all of that out and looked at it plainly, I realized that most of what I was feeling had very little to do with the girl I thought I wanted. It had to do with me. It had to do with gaps in how I see myself that I was hoping someone else could fill from the outside. The respect from friends, the worth I hoped she'd hand me, both are just insecurities. And insecurities don't disappear when someone else acknowledges you. They go quiet, then come back louder. You get the girl, you feel it for a moment, and then the goalpost moves. You instantly need more reassurance and confirmation to fill the void. It doesn't close, it just gets hungrier. What I've been noticing lately, almost entirely by accident, is that the love I kept looking past was already around me the whole time. And I don't mean that in some motivational, everything is beautiful kind of way. I mean it in small, specific, almost easy to miss ways that I kept walking straight past because they weren't coming from the direction I was looking. In my perspective, it's like when a friend just treats you to breakfast. No occasion, no debt, just here, I got you. It catches you completely off guard because it's so simple. Or when you're sick and someone actually shows up at your house instead of just sending a text. Those things used to happen, and I would feel them for a moment, genuinely feel them, and then immediately return to the other feeling, the louder one, the one I thought was more important. As if the love that was actually in front of me wasn't the right kind because it wasn't romantic. As if it didn't count. I've been thinking about why I kept dismissing it. And I think it's because the love you get from friends and family doesn't feel like proof in the same way. It doesn't silence the specific insecurity you're carrying. Your friend treating you to breakfast doesn't make you feel chosen in the way that you want to feel chosen. It doesn't give you something to bring back to that conversation where everyone is talking about their relationships. So you register it, you appreciate it briefly, and you move on, still chasing the thing you think will actually fix it. In my perspective, I don't have a clean ending for this one because I haven't reached one. I'm still in this, I still feel that quiet at night when I'm building scenes in my head that don't exist yet. I'm still working out the difference between wanting someone because you genuinely connect with them and wanting someone because you're hoping they'll fix the way you feel about yourself. I don't think I've fully separated those two things yet, but I'll say this. There's a version of this conversation that ends with someone telling you to just love yourself first and everything else will follow. And I understand why people say that, but when you're actually in it, that advice lands like nothing. It sounds like something you put on a poster because the feeling isn't rational. You can know intellectually that you shouldn't be looking for your self-worth in another person and still feel the want just as strongly the next night. Knowing the answer and actually living differently are two completely separate things, and I think it's dishonest to pretend otherwise. What I found slightly more useful, not as a solution, just as something that takes the edge off, is just looking at the feeling honestly when it shows up instead of immediately trying to fix it or act on it. Asking what it's actually made of. Because most of the time when I slow down and do that, it's more complicated than just wanting a relationship. It's got layers, insecurity, pride, loneliness, lust. And once you can actually see what's in there, the whole thing becomes a little less urgent, a little less like something that needs to be solved tonight by finding the right person. If you're lying in bed building that imaginary life, the one where someone is there, where you feel chosen, where the silence finally has something in it, I'm not going to tell you to stop. But maybe just sit with the question of what you're actually looking for inside that image. It might not be the person, it might be the feeling underneath. And that feeling might already be closer than you think, just arriving in quieter ways from directions you haven't thought to look yet. I'll see you in the next one.